But look what the heels are doing. If I go this way and push my hip over, now I'm in the sweet spot and I can lift up to my handstand. Now, if you're working on press handstand and you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I love the partial range press handstand drill, where we go from this position up to handstand, and then we just slowly take our feet lower and lower towards the floor. But the problem a lot of people have is that they have only limited pieces of equipment. So maybe they just have one or two things that they can use for their press handstand, and maybe this becomes easy. So when I put my feet up on here, I can press, no problem. But when I try and go lower to something like this, it's too big of a jump and I can't get my feet to come up off the floor. And that's where using something like a dead ball like this or a bunch of weight plates is really powerful, because I can add it to something like this and now I've got this extra height, but I can also add it to this one and I have a smaller increment. I can go to the floor, so it suddenly opens up a load more levels you can do. But we still need to get the technique correct. So today, let's go over the specific technique that we need to use for the partial range press handstand, the setup that needs to happen for our legs to go up, and it doesn't matter what height you're at, that technique stays the same. So whatever level you're at working towards a press handstand, this is going to be for you. So for me to do a press handstand, I need to position my hip crease, so this part here, on top of the heel of the palm. So it doesn't matter what my legs are doing, that hip crease needs to get there. At that point, my toes can lift up because I have equal weight now. My shoulders and my upper back have come far enough forwards to counterbalance the legs, and the hips are directly on top of the base. So I can go into, say, let's do a pike. I can get to here, the feet can come off, and that means I can press the handstand from there. I can have my legs wide apart, a bit more like a planche position. The hip crease gets on top of the heel of the palm, my feet can lift. I can do more of a traditional straddle press to handstand. So like this, hip crease on top of the heel of the palm. Now I can press all the way up to handstand. So that positioning needs to be the same every time. That hip crease needs to be on top of the base of support, just enough to counterbalance what's behind and what's in front. So your positions might look quite different, but those things need to be there. And exactly the same applies when we add in that partial range. Because most people aren't going to be able to get up off the floor, they need to increase the height of their feet to start with to do the concentric portion. So if I use these two dead balls now, I can place my hands here, my feet there, and now look, the hip is on top of that heel of the palm again, and now my feet can lift and I could go all the way to handstand. Again, did you see my legs? They were messy. I went into like a tuck froggy position. They don't have to be clean, but the pathway as I go up needs to make sense constantly. What do I mean by that? If my feet go backwards in this direction, I'm going to fall in that direction. If my shoulders go too far forwards as the feet come up, I'm going to fall in that direction. So I need to constantly be in the center of my balance window as the legs go up. So you want the legs to come up like this, not like this or like this, because that's going to end up in you falling over or falling under. And the best way to start playing with this partial range is to start very, very high. You might want to do it back to wall. So I could have this type of setup here and then be doing it with the wall behind me, so it's not too scary, and when I go up, I could go to the wall. So that's one option, but it's easier to video without the wall, and ideally you'd be doing it freestanding, but obviously stay within your boundaries of your level. So I'm going to have this at a certain distance. Now normally the higher you are, the wider you need to go with your feet, because if we look at the pathway of my feet when I do a press handstand, they start close together, so feet are close, and then they go out. So if I go to this height, my feet need to be that far apart. So these steps need to be at a certain distance that makes sense for my pathway of the handstand that I'm working towards. So I'll position these steps somewhere here, like so, and we're going to go pretty high. So we're going to use these dead balls again. And now I need to position my hands somewhere that makes sense. Now, ideally, I'll put them in the sweet spot straight away. The trouble with being in the sweet spot in terms of the positions of the feet and the hands is I could easily position and I feel like I'm going to backsplat. And if I'm not so confident in my handstand ability to control it, I could scare myself and then back off, and it actually doesn't work to press up. So the easier way when you're first getting used to it is actually position your hands way too far in front and step up to your position. So now I've got way too much weight back on here. I can't lift up because the positioning is just not right to make sense. But when I'm here, now I can walk the hands back a little bit. Still got too much weight backwards, but look what the heels are doing. If I go this way and push my hip over, now I'm in the sweet spot and I can lift up to my handstand. So I can't be like this. I need to be like this, where this starts to feel light and then I can lift. I don't want to be in this position. But when I first get into the position like I just demonstrated, this is going to feel safer. Then I slowly walk the hands in, move the hips up, and I might be able to lift the feet up. If I can't, I've got two options. I could keep playing with the setup and move these around, or I can increase the height. So if I want to increase the height even more, I just make something that's taller. Now, obviously this is a bit sketchy because I'm balancing lots of different things on top, but I know that I have a strong enough base and control at the bottom where I can make the toes relatively light when I go into the position. So from here, it's going to be nice and easy to lift up. We can get up, we just slowly start decreasing the height. So again, you might need to play with that distance between them, get into the same position, make sure that hips on top, toes feel light. If they don't, play around with that position again until you feel like you can get up. But you might need to fine tune it a lot. And then you just keep lowering and lowering until you get very, very close to the floor and you can get up until eventually you can do it super close to the floor. Then we can come off the floor and you could even raise the hands up and go to a deficit. But that's a video for another day because that's really cool for harder progressions of the press handstand. Now this could be for the person newer to press handstand and they're just getting their feet wet with learning some concentric, so the up movement. They might be doing some eccentrics already, which are amazing exercises, but the partial range is a really good way of entering the concentric world. So the up. It might be for you that already have a straddle press to handstand and you want to work a pike press or a tuck press or even a stool to press. You can do certain setups that can target the movement or the range of motion that you need to work on for the skills that you're working towards and your level. You'll find programs for the press handstand in my app. If you'd like more help with your training, check out my website, www.paultwyman.com.au, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one.